It is the Monday after UFC 269. There was so much drama. There was the upsets. There was the, yep, I can see how that happened. We were all expecting that to happen. But let's get right into it with the fights to make after UFC 269. Fight number one, we have Tai Tuivasa versus the loser of the fight coming up this week, Lewis versus Dawkins. I think that'll be such a great fight. I think Tai is now ranked, I do believe, against his knockout win over Augusto Sakai, which was very brutal, let's be honest. But I honestly think Tai versus Lewis or Tai versus Dawkins would be such a great fight. I honestly think Dawkins is going to beat Lewis, to be truthfully honest with you. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be a all-new Lewis, but Tai versus any one of those guys would be such a great fight. Number two, we have Pedro Munoz versus Sean O'Malley. I do believe Sean is now going to be ranked, and Pedro, although he has lost 4 of his last 5 fights, I think, yeah, something like that. He's still a good fighter, right? Like, I don't think you should cut the guy. Yeah, no, he's lost. Yeah, he's 1-4 in his last 5, and he's still such a good fighter. So, you know, he beat Cody, which we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I think Pedro versus Sean would be a great fight, and it would be a really good test for Sean. And I think the UFC needs to start looking at Pedro as a sort of in that gatekeeper position, because honestly, I think, sad to say, and this is not a knock on Pedro, but I think just where he is with his career and his age, I think that's kind of where he's at. I mean, he did rock Dominic Cruz, so yeah, I think Pedro versus Sean O'Malley, Pedro Munoz versus Sean O'Malley would be an excellent fight. Fight number 3, Dominic Cruz versus Rob Font. Or I didn't put this in here, but Dominic Cruz versus Corey Sandhagen, just because Corey's on a 2-fight losing streak. But yeah, I think after the other week with Rob Font and Jose Aldo, which was such a good fight, yeah, Dominic Cruz versus Rob Font, I think would be an excellent fight for Dominic to get one step closer to the title, and would be an excellent fight for Rob, because if he beats Dominic, that would be like, you know, you just beat a former champion, a multi-time champion, and yeah, it would be, there's a lot riding on both guys. You know, Dominic gets thrown right into the title picture again if he beats Rob, and if Rob, and then Rob will get thrown right into the title picture again if he beats Dominic. So. Or he'll be one step closer to like a title eliminator, right? Because Dominic, I think, is ranked at 8 or something like that. So, but you get what I'm saying. Fight number 4 is Josh Emmett versus the loser of Kattar versus Shikadze. Currently, Josh is ranked number 7, I believe, and I think Kattar versus Shikadze, let's be honest, I'm pretty sure that's like a title eliminator, or whoever wins that is like one step away from a title eliminator. But yeah, and Josh Emmett versus either one of those guys would be a really good fight. Side note, Josh Emmett did not win that fight 30-27. I think Sal D'Amato or whatever, that judge who did it 30-27, that's ridiculous. Dan Ige won the second round. That fight was 29-28 Emmett, not 30-27 Emmett. For fight number 5, we have Cody Garbrandt versus Sean O'Malley. I know I've already given Sean a fight with Pedro, but I also think to a degree you need to start looking at Cody as kind of in the same picture as Pedro, as like a what will be the word here? Gatekeeper. The reality is Cody is not the Cody that we saw versus Dominic Cruz 5 years ago, or whatever that was. That 4 years ago, 5 years ago. That Cody doesn't exist anymore. I'm not saying that we can't get back to that point, but it doesn't exist. But with that being said, I think Cody Garbrandt versus Sean O'Malley would be another really good test. It'd be a good test for Sean, And if Sean can beat Cody Garbrandt, I'm telling you, that we can all be like, yeah, no, actually, he's legit. Raulian Paiva is good, but he's kind of a flyweight. But Cody versus unranked guys at 125, or Cody versus Sean, or some unranked guys at 35, makes sense. I don't think you should cut him just yet, but just stop giving him like killers, right? He needs to do a Dominic Cruz did, like, fight somebody like Casey Kenny or something like that. I think actually Cody Garbrandt versus Casey Kenny would be a good fight. Jeff Neal versus the loser of Thompson versus Muhammad. This one I was kind of looking at when I was doing the notes. I was like, well, I don't know. I highly doubt this will happen, but the reality is I think Jeff Neal's number 12 and Bilal Muhammad is number 10. So, I mean, yeah. And if Muhammad beats Thompson, there's going to be a huge change in ranking. And I think Jeff Neal could, it would be a good fight. Neal versus Muhammad or Neal versus Thompson. I think it'd be a great fight. For this next one, it's sort of a little different because it's Dustin Poirier versus a bunch of people, maybe. So what I have here, Poirier versus the loser of Dariush versus Makhachev. That would be a great fight. Either one, Poirier versus Dustin versus Beneil, or Dustin versus Islam would be an excellent fight. I honestly think Dustin versus Beneil would be a bit better of a fight. I don't know. I've only seen Beneil fight once, and that was against Tony Ferguson, washed up Tony Ferguson. Next, Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler, I think would be such a good fight. That would be a barn burner. That would just be like, yeah, that would be, no title needs to be on the line. That would just be such an amazing fight. And then Dustin Poirier versus, we're going back to kind of his original plan almost in a way. Definitely what Colby wanted. Dustin Poirier moving up 170 and fighting Colby Covington. I think that would be an amazing fight. Maybe for an interim welterweight belt, that would be actually pretty sick. Poirier versus Covington for the interim welterweight belt. I mean, both of those guys are #1 contenders, and they have just lost, both within just over a month of each other, have lost title fights. So to the current champ. Right? Anyways, I'm kind of rambling now. You guys get the gist. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Tell me what you think. And yeah, I hope you guys like UFC 269. I did. Last pay-per-view of the year, and then UFC 270, baby, in January. That's gonna be crazy. Who will it be? Will Ciryl Gane, can never say that name properly. Will Ciryl Gane just make it look easy and wash Francis Ngannou? Will this fight go the distance? Will it end in a split decision? Will it end in a draw? Will Francis just flatline Ciryl Gane and give him the first loss of his fighting career, because he is undefeated, I think, all the way around the board in Muay Thai, in amateur, and in his professional. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you, and on to the next one.